Have you ever really thought about it? That spare room in your house, could it actually power a whole local economy? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're going to look at this amazing economic engine that gets built, piece by piece, all thanks to local hosting.
Yeah, it really all boils down to that one big question, right? How can one spare room change everything for a neighborhood? And look, it sounds kind of simple on the surface, but the answer? Wow. The answer unpacks this incredible chain reaction, this cascade of effects that can totally reshape a community. So where does a story like this even start? Well, it begins with just one person. And what's interesting is they probably don't even think of themselves as a business owner, not at first anyway. They're kind of like an accidental entrepreneur.
And that's literally it. There's no giant investment needed. No fancy corporate headquarters. It's just an everyday person, looking at an empty room or maybe an unused apartment and having that little thought, what if? That tiny idea, that's the seed. It's the starting point for this whole economic ripple effect we're talking about.
Okay, and this right here, this is what really gets to the heart of why this is such a game changer. Think about the traditional hotel model, right? You need a ton of money to start, it's owned by some big corporation, and a lot of the profit, it just flows right out of the community. But the host model, it completely flips that script. The cost to get started is super low, the ownership is individual, and this is the crucial part, that money stays right there in the local neighborhood.
And you can see the immediate impact this has on a personal level. For the host, this isn't some, abstract economic theory. No way. This is real money, tangible cash that makes a huge difference. It could be what helps them pay their bills, save for school, or even invest in another great idea. It's about creating a flexible job that they actually love.
All right, but the story doesn't stop with just the host. Not even close. Let's look at how this whole thing starts to build. That first stream of income, it starts to ripple out, creating this incredible wave of new opportunities for pretty much everyone in the community.
A good way to think about it is like tossing a stone into a pond. The host makes that first splash, but the ripples, they just keep going, touching so many other people. Because think about it, a single successful rental needs a whole support system. And where does that support system come from? It's built from local people, local talent, local services.
So who are we talking about here? Who's in this network? Well, for starters, a host needs their place to be absolutely spotless, right? So boom, there's a new demand for local cleaners. And as they get busier, maybe they hire a property manager to help out. To make the place look great online, they're going to hire a local photographer. And to make sure their guests have an amazing time, they'll recommend local tour guides. Suddenly, each and every host has become a mini job creator.
And that ripple effect just keeps on going. I mean, guests don't just hang out in the rental, do they? Of course not. They're out eating at local restaurants, they're shopping at the little neighborhood boutiques, they're exploring. All of that spending from visitors props up the existing small businesses, and, you guessed it, creates even more part-time work for people who live right there.
But wait, there's actually one more layer to this whole economic story. And for this part, we circle right back to the host. Because the experience of hosting, it doesn't just give them extra income, it actually forges them into a whole new type of entrepreneur.
This really gives us a new way to define what an entrepreneur even is. It's not always the person who went to a fancy business school and raised millions in venture capital. A modern entrepreneur can be someone who just learns on the fly, someone who uses these new platforms to build a flexible career completely on their own terms, and often with almost zero money down.
And just look at the skills they pick up. We're not just talking about hosting skills here. These are fundamental, rock-solid business skills. They're learning about dynamic pricing, marketing, photography, top-notch customer service, creative problem-solving. This is basically a real-world MBA learned one booking at a time. You can actually see a pretty clear journey here. It all starts with that very first booking. Then, as they get the hang of it and master these skills, maybe they take on a few more properties. And for some, the final step is incredible. They launch a whole new business themselves, one that helps other hosts, like a special cleaning service or a design company. That accidental entrepreneur we talked about, they've become a full-blown intentional one. And this quote, it just nails the ultimate outcome, doesn't it? A whole generation of modern, flexible entrepreneurs. This isn't just about one or two success stories. It's about creating a whole new path for a generation of people. A way for them to be their own boss, to have flexibility, and to jump into the economy in a totally new and powerful way. So, all of this leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. We've just walked through how this model can totally transform local economies through lodging. But if something as simple
As basic as a spare room can create a local economic engine like this, what else is out there? What other untapped resources are just sitting in our neighborhoods, waiting for the right idea, the right platform to unlock their potential? Really, what comes next?